Hi, I'm Nick from Tabletop Duo, and today you will learn how to play Monster Hunter World the board game. Setup. Place the game board in the center of play. Choose whichever side you prefer. Give a stamina board, a character sheet, and a hunter health dial to each player. Set the hunter health dial to 8 and place it at the top section of the board. Then each player selects a hunter to use and picks their numbered cards as described below. Place the weapon, head, body, and leg cards on their respective slots on the stamina board. Take the combination of damage cards shown on the weapon card. For example, this weapon starts with 10 1 damage cards and 2 2 damage cards. Other characters might have exotic rules for deck building. For example, the heavy bowgun hunter has a deviation deck, so be sure to check if they have an ability card before the setup. Shuffle the damage cards and place them face down on their respective slot of the stamina board to create the damage deck. Shuffle the attack cards and place them face down on their respective slot of the stamina board to create the attack deck. If your hunter has a special rules card, leave it on the side, like this. If you're playing a 1 or 2 player game, shuffle the palico cards and give 2 to each player. Choose one to keep, place it on the palico slot, write down its name on the character sheet, and return the other card to the game box. Take 10 elemental damage cards, shuffle them and place them face down near the game board to create the elemental deck. And now you're ready to learn how to play. Your party's goal is to defeat a 4-star monster hunt. Your party has to play a series of quests, defeating monsters to acquire loot and craft better weapons and gear in order to hunt the 4-star monster. First, select which monster you want to fight in the quest book. If this is your first playthrough, these will be the monsters your party will face first. Open the quest book on the corresponding page. The first time you face a new monster, you must choose the 1-star quest called Assigned Quest. Each time you go on a quest, cross out a campaign day. Separate the time cards based on their symbol to form 2 decks. Shuffle the time cards with this symbol and draw the amount of cards equal to the time limit for the quest and place it face down near the game board. Take the monster's physiology card that matches the quest symbol, the 13 behavior cards that matches the monster's symbol, and its corresponding miniature, and place them on the side of the board. Each quest is composed of 3 phases: Gathering, Hunting, and HQ phase. Let's start with the Gathering phase. In this phase, you will track down the monster you have chosen to hunt, and along the way you may acquire monster tracks, potions, or useful resources. To start this phase, locate the monster track tokens, shuffle them down, and place them near the game board. Then, set the monster health dial to the health level on the monster's physiology card. Check the starting point entry on the quest book and give it to a player that should read aloud the text for the adventure's starting point. As a group, decide which direction to go. Each time you read a new entry, continue to read the text aloud. If the text entry gives new resources, each player gets that number of resources and marks them on their character sheets. If the text entry gives potions, they should be put into a communal pool for all hunters to use. We suggest having only one player tracking this on their character sheet. Note that the group of hunters can only carry a maximum of 3 potions at any time. If the text entry gives you track tokens, pick the corresponding face-down track tokens, keep their orientation, and place them in a communal pool. Once you read the text entry that asks the party to review the track tokens and check the scout fly level, flip the track tokens on your communal pool and sum the numbers on them. Then pick the 13 monster behavior cards and remove 3 cards with the following symbol. Determine which one of the 3 cards to add back by comparing the sum with the scout fly level. For example, this party had a sum of 3 track tokens, and the quest scout fly level is between 2 to 5. The party matches the second case where we have more than the minimum, but fewer than the maximum, so this party will add the Jagra's Spit to the other 10 cards. Shuffle these 11 cards and place them face down to form the monster's behavior deck. Now the party moves to the hunting phase. Go back to the monster's quest page on the quest book and place the monster's miniature on the monster's starting node, facing the directions shown by the arrow on the node symbol of the minimap. Do the same with the terrain tokens. Then each player takes a turn, placing their hunter's miniature on any of the hunter's starting nodes represented by this symbol on the minimap. Multiple hunters can be placed on the same node. Give a randomly selected hunter token to each player and place them face up near the stamina board. Then each player shuffles their attack card deck and draws 5 cards. Once you finish these preparation steps, it's time to fight the monster. The hunter phase always starts with the monster attacking first. When it's the monster's turn, draw a card from the monster's behavior deck and place it face up. You resolve the monster's behavior card from left to right. The first symbol indicates who the monster will attack and move to. If the behavior has the closest target symbol, the target will be the hunter closest to it. If the behavior has the farthest target symbol, the monster's target will be the hunter farthest from it. This is determined by counting the nodes between the monster and the hunter. If multiple hunters are at the same distance, the monster will target the hunters with the highest threat value defined by the hunter token. For example, this attack targets the closest hunter. There are 2 targets 2 nodes away, so the players compare these 2 hunters' threat values. This one is the highest, so the monster will attack this hunter. Next, the monster will either move or attack depending on the order of the symbols. In this example, the monster will move first, so let's talk about moving a monster. The number in the movement symbol shows how many nodes the monster will move. If the number is at the top of the symbol, the monster moves towards its target. If the number is at the bottom, the monster moves away from its target. And if the number is on the sides, the monster moves to the node on its right or left. Monsters can move to any adjacent node horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Before and after each node of movement, rotate the monster so that its front arc faces its target. If this would cause the monsters to not directly face an adjacent node, the monster instead faces the closest adjacent node to its target. For example, this monster behavior makes the monster move 2 nodes towards its target. The monster's front arc is turned towards the closest adjacent node to its target, then the monster moves 1 node forward. There is 1 node left, so the monster is reoriented towards the closest adjacent node to its target and the monster moves the 2nd node forward. Then the player reorients the monster to face the closest adjacent node to its target. If the movement is numbered 0, the monster just rotates to face the closest adjacent node to its target. When a monster moves into the same node as 1 or more hunters, the hunter must be moved to an adjacent node that is within the monster's front arc. If there are no available adjacent nodes within the monster's front arc, like when there is a wall behind the character, move the character to an adjacent node. If the monster continues its movement, do this as many times as needed. If the monster would move in such a way that it takes it off the game board, the monster moves until it reaches the edge, ending the movement. Once the monster finished its movement, it will now attack, which is represented by these symbols. The number on the top left corner is the maximum range of the monster's attack, counted in nodes from the monster to the hunters. If the symbol on the top right corner is a bullseye, the monster will attack the node of the closest character or the furthest character, hitting any hunters on that node if that node is within the attack's range. For example, this attack targets the closest hunter's node within 1 node away, and this one targets the furthest hunter's node within 2 nodes away. There are 2 hunters on that node, so both are hit. If instead of bullseye, the top right symbol is an attack arc, the monster will attack hunters on the nodes within the red highlighted arcs within range. For example, this attack targets the monster's right and front arcs within 3 range, so any hunters on the following nodes would be hit. Hunters can dodge monster attacks. The number on the bottom left of the center symbol indicates the dodge value. Dodging a monster attack negates any damage or status ailment a character would receive. To dodge a monster's attack, you must play an attack card from your hand face down onto the stamina board in which their combination of agility equals or exceeds the dodge symbol value of the monster's attack. For example, this attack has a dodge value of 2. The player selects these 2 cards from their hands that sums up to 2 agility. The number equals the dodge value, so they will be able to dodge the attack. They play the 2 cards face down on their stamina track. Note that if your stamina board is full, or you can't play all the cards needed to dodge, you cannot do this action. If you manage to successfully dodge the attack, your hunter moves a number of nodes up to the agility of the cards. The symbol in the center represents the amount of physical damage caused by the monster. If the symbol has icons around it, it means that the attack will deal an elemental damage instead of physical damage. When suffering damage from a monster's attack, check your hunter's armor or elemental resistance to reduce the amount of damage. If hit by physical damage, sum the numbers within this symbol from your armor and/or weapon and subtract it from the monster's attack value. For example, this player was hit with 6 damage. Their weapon and gear has 2 armor resistance, so their total damage is 4. If hit by an elemental damage, check if your gear has elemental symbol and sum up the numbers of the corresponding elemental type and subtract it from the monster's attack value. For example, this enemy performed a water attack dealing 7 water damage. This player has 1 water resistance, so the hunter's total damage will be 6. Reduce the hunter's health dial by that amount. Note that if the attack also has a status ailment icon on the bottom right corner of the attack symbol, hunters will receive a status ailment in addition to damage. If the hunter is stunned, choose an attack card from your hand and place it face down on your stamina board on the most available leftmost space if you still have available spaces. If the ailment is poison, your hunter loses 2 health at the end of their turn. If it's sleep, you cannot place attack cards on your stamina board to attack, move, or dodge until the end of this hunter's next turn. For paralysis, if the afflicted hunter has more than 2 cards in their hand, they must discard down to 2 cards. And if it's Blessed Blight, the afflicted hunter has -2 armor until their next turn. After finishing the behavior, the next 2 symbols on the card determine how the hunters may react. The hunter turn symbol indicates how many turns hunters may take before the monster attacks again, and the second symbol indicates the number of attack cards each hunter may play face up on their stamina board during their turn. Once the monster's turn ends, it's the hunter's turn. As mentioned before, only the number of hunters listed on the player's monster behavior card will play before the monster attacks again. As a group, choose a hunter whose hunter token is face up, then plan your actions. On their turn, players must choose either combat actions, which are used when the player wants to attack, or preparation actions when the player wants to use potions and sharpen their weapons. If you choose combat actions, you can walk, which allows you to move your hunter 1 node in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. If you want to move the hunter even further, you can use the sprint action. For each extra node you want to move, play an attack card face down on the leftmost empty space of your stamina board. Note that if you want to move to a node containing a terrain token, the following effects take place. The third action you can do is play attack cards face up from your hand to attack the monster. These actions can be performed in any order and cannot be repeated. Let's talk about playing attack cards. First and foremost, you can only play attack cards up to the number stated on the last played monster behavior card. For example, this monster behavior dictates hunters to use up to 2 attack cards. If the attack cards have a yellow strip or orange arrow in the background, they are played from left to right on the leftmost empty stamina slot. Cards that have the yellow strip are called normal stamina cards and can be played at the beginning or middle of a sequence of attacks. Cards that have the orange arrow strip are called stamina end cards and they need to be placed at the end of an attack sequence. For example, this player can play 3 cards this turn. The player has 2 normal stamina cards and 3 stamina end cards. The player needs to play the normal stamina cards first and must decide which of the stamina end cards they will use as the third one, as you can only play one of those cards at the end of the sequence. If the card has no strip in the background, like this one, resolve the effects listed on the card and discard it on the attack deck discard pile. Note that this type of card does not count towards the number of attack cards each hunter may play during their turn. Besides the dodge value we already discussed, the attack cards have other symbols. This is the combo symbol. It means that the players must have the number of face-up attack cards on the stamina board in order to play this card. The symbol indicates the card's attack range. A card with a range symbol can only be played if the monster is in range. For example, this attack card requires the monster to be 1 node away to successfully trigger its attack effects. Draw a number of attack cards equal to the damage symbol number of all the attack cards played this turn and add together the values, discarding the cards after. Note that if the damage deck is empty, you cannot do damage to the monster. We'll talk about it later. If the attack deck is empty, you can reshuffle it. Then check which arc of the monster your hunter is within and reduce the total by the armor of the body part being attacked, subtracting the total from the monster's health dial. If your hunter is on a node which is positioned in 2 monster arcs, choose a part in either arc to attack. For example, these attack cards require the hunter to be 1 node away. The hunter is 1 node away from the monster, but it's on a node that is positioned between 2 of the monster arcs. The player notices that the monster's side has 0 armor compared to its tail with 1 armor. Since attacking the side would not reduce any damage from the attack cards, the player decides to attack the monster side. They draw 3 damage cards from the damage deck to a total of 5 damage. They decrease 5 health from the monster's health dial and discard the damage cards. If the cards have the break symbol and your attack has successfully dealt damage to the monster, place the amount of break tokens displayed on the attack cards on the monster's physiology card in the break token stash of the body part being attacked. When a body part has the number of tokens equal to its part break value, the body part breaks. Remove all break tokens from the body part and replace it with a broken token, and then apply whatever part break rules are listed on this section until the monster is slain. This symbol indicates this attack card grants a bonus movement, allowing the hunter to move up to these many nodes without placing additional cards on the stamina board during the attack. Note that some movement symbols indicate you must move in a specific direction relative to the monster. If the card has a status ailment symbol or elemental attack symbol, place the corresponding token of that type on the corresponding area of the monster's physiology card. Then check the monster's status ailment or elemental resistance tables. If the monster has 1 or 2 stars of resistance, the ailment or elemental damage will take place when 1 or 2 tokens of the same type are accumulated. And if the monster has a red X marker, the monster is immune to that specific status ailment or elemental damage. These tokens accumulate until the effect is triggered. When an ailment or elemental damage is triggered, remove all tokens of the same type and do the following effects. When the monster is attacked with an elemental attack card, place an elemental token of that type on the elemental token section near the status ailments. If the number of tokens equals the resistance, the enemy receives elemental damage besides the physical damage. Draw the number of physical attack cards and draw an elemental damage card. Elemental damage cards lower the monster's health directly while physical damage is reduced by the monster's armor. After that, discard the elemental damage card. Note that if the elemental damage deck is empty, shuffle the cards and form a new deck. Note that if the monster receives more tokens than what is required to trigger an elemental damage or status ailment, they don't stack. For example, this player did an attack that deals this status ailment 2 times. The monster has 2 resistance to this status ailment, but already has 1 token of that type on the board. Now there are 3. Since there are now at least 2 tokens of that type, it triggers the status ailment. The player has to remove the 3 tokens anyway. This concludes the combat actions. Let's talk about the preparation actions now. If the hunter chooses prepare actions instead of attack actions during their turn, they can do the following in any combination. They can move 1 node for free with the walk action, or sprint to make more movements by playing an action card from their hand face down on the stamina board leftmost empty space. The player can use a potion if they have one. If they do so, discard all the attack cards on your stamina board and shuffle all discarded cards into your attack deck. Then, remove all the health the hunter has lost and reduce the number of potions the group has from the sheet. Players can also use the sharpen action. This action should be used when your damage deck is near or empty, because otherwise you will cause no further damage. If you choose to sharpen, shuffle all discarded damage cards into your damage deck if there are any remaining cards, forming the new damage deck. This concludes the preparation actions. Palico cards used for solo or 2-player games can be used in either combat or preparation actions once per hunt. Once a hunter's turn ends, draw a time card, do what it says and place it on the discard pile. Note that when the card asks you to flip your hunter token to the inactive side, flip this token. This hunter cannot take a turn until all other hunters play and have their tokens flipped to the inactive side. When all tokens are flipped to inactive, flip them back to active. Check the monster behavior to see if you have reached the number of hunter turns before the next attack. When a hunter's health dial reaches 0, the hunter faints and their miniature is removed from the board. Discard 2 time cards and then remove any stamina cards on your board. At the start of the next turn of your hunter, place the miniature back on any of the available starting nodes, turn the health dial to full, and draw attack cards until there are 5 in your hand. Hunters can faint collectively 2 times during a hunt. If they faint a 3rd time, the group fails the quest. If the party defeats the monster, flip its physiology card. It's time to get some loot. Each player receives a resource based on the parts that were broken. For example, these players broke the Great Jagra's head, so each hunter receives 1 Great Jagra's mane. Then each hunters roll dice based on the number of hunters playing and the type of hunt you're performing as dictated on the table. For example, if a party of 3 did an assigned hunt for the Great Jagras, they get 2 dice each. Each hunter rolls their dice, and they may spend each die to gain a single reward or combine any number of dice to gain a specific reward. For example, on a 3-player game, player A rolled 2 dice and decided to get 1 reward for each die. Player B decided to sum the dice and get this single reward. After collecting the monster's loot, or if the party is defeated, they go to the headquarters phase. Players can forge new armor and weapons by spending their resources. To do so, look at your Hunter's Forge reference card to check for requirements. Note that more powerful weapons can't be forged unless you already own the weapon that precedes them in their line. For example, to craft the alloy bow, the player needs to have crafted one iron bow and then one steel bow first. If you have the required resources and previous weapons, write the name of the forged weapon on the character sheet and cross off any resources from your character sheet that you have used to forge the weapon or armor. Then locate the new weapon or armor and replace it on the stamina board. If it's a new weapon, build a new damage deck using the damage cards listed on your new weapon card. The weapon might request the player to remove or add some attack cards from the attack deck. Forging doesn't spend campaign days, but players can decide collectively to spend one day doing downtime activities after a quest. Downtime activities provide players with buffs, extra resources, or trade. Every day spent allow players to choose up to 3 of the following activities to perform. You cannot choose the same activity twice on the same day. You may spend an action to visit the resource center. Open the quest book on the downtime activities page and roll 2 dice, then check the results and get the associated resources. Players can also spend an action to visit the provisions stockpile. Players may remove any 3 common ores, bones, or hides from their character sheet to receive any 1 common ore, bone, hide, or potion in return. They can also spend an action to visit the Meowscular Chef. Collectively select 1 elemental type. Each hunter gains +1 resistance to the selected elemental type for the duration of the next quest. You may also spend an action visiting the handler to be able to attempt a new investigation quest even if you have already attempted it 4 times. This will make sense in the next step. Once players do the activities on the HQ phase, they may choose to either take on an assigned quest for any of the other monsters or take the same monster's investigation quest with 2 or 3 stars to fight a tougher version of the monster and grind more resources. Assigned quests may be attempted as many times as needed, but once completed, they can't be attempted again. Investigation quests may only be attempted a maximum of 4 times per monster, whether the party completed it or not. This can be skipped via the handler action mentioned before. For every quest you take, whenever the party completes it or not, cross out a day from the campaign calendar. Once you're ready to face the 4 stars investigation quest of the following monsters, and the party defeats it, you finish the campaign. And that's how you play the Monster Hunter World, the board game. If you're enjoying the Monster Hunter World board game, we have a series of videos with reviews of all of the core sets and expansions. Thanks for watching and see you next time!